Hey, Ruth, welcome to the His and Her Money Show.
Hello, Ruth.
Hey.
We are glad to have you here with us because you are quite the entrepreneurial story that we know a lot of people will be able to look at and learn from. And so we were so excited that you were able to find some time to come back on the show, we should say, to share a bit more about your story and some of the successes that you've had on your journey to who you are today. But before we get to who you are today, can you introduce yourself to everybody that's listening? Let them know a little bit about you and let them know what you are all about.
Sure. Well, my name is Ruth Soukup, and I am the founder of Elite Blog Academy, as well as the founder of Living Well, Spending Less. So some people know me from Living Well, Spending Less. I think before I was on your podcast to talk about my book, Living Well, Spending Less, that was several years ago now that I was on. And so Living Well, Spending Less started first. That was my original blog. And then I had so many people asking what I was doing on Living Well, Spending Less that was making enough money that my husband could quit his job, that I ended up first writing a book called How to Blog for Profit Without Selling Your Soul. And then thought that would answer everyone's questions. And instead, all I got were more questions. And so I found that ultimately the best way to answer all those questions was to start a course for bloggers called Elite Blog Academy, which I founded in 2014 and has just kind of grown exponentially over the years. We started just thinking that maybe we get a few dozen people signing up, and it turned out that now I think we've got over 6,000 students so far, and we'll be opening the doors up here very soon. We only open enrollment once a year.
And we are proud members of the freshman class of Elite Blog Academy. So we know that everything that you teach is 100% legit. So take us back to the beginning, though. A lot of people have the idea of, you know what, I think I want to start a blog, or, man, it would be cool to start a blog. Back when you were first beginning, what made that thought pop into your head, and what made you actually follow through and make it into a reality?
Well, let's see. The thought that popped into my head when I first started my blog was not, I want to start a business, or I want to make $1 million, or I think I could be famous someday, or I want to be a New York Times bestselling author. Like, none of those. Literally, the only thing that I was thinking at that point was, my husband and I are fighting a lot about money, and if I don't stop going to Target every day, he is probably going to divorce me. So I need to figure out something to do really quickly that is not spending money. And I had 2 little kids at home at the time. I had a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. So anyone who has been at home with toddlers knows how challenging that can be. And I was just, looking really for something to do to fill my time that was not, that wasn't shopping. Honestly, like, I was not a money saving expert. I started this blog. I mean, in hindsight, if I could go back and do it all over again, I would not ever have named my blog Living Well, Spending Less, because everyone assumes that I'm some kind of money saving expert, when the truth is, it couldn't be further from the truth. I'm not. I'm still spend too much money. I think I just got better at making it, which is probably the way that I've solved my spending problem, is to make more. But truly, like, I had no idea what I was doing, or had any even concept that this could be a business. I had always liked writing. I wanted something to do and I needed a way to hold myself accountable. So I thought, okay, well, I'm trying to figure out how to live well and spend less, and I'm trying to learn how to do, manage my home better and be a better mom to my kids, and I was trying to use coupons at the time, and so I'm like, I'll just start writing about it, and I did, and I found that pretty quickly there were, not a lot of people that were interested in it. Mostly it was just a few different friends. I had shared a couple blog posts on Facebook, and some friends wanted to know how I was couponing and how I was saving this money at the store with coupons. And then, as I started to like check out the whole blogging world, which I had never even read blogs before. So I had no idea there was this whole other world of blogs and bloggers and blogging. Like it was this foreign universe that seemed really exciting because I was stuck at home with 2 little kids. And it was like all of a sudden there were all these friends out there, people that wanted to be my friends, that other bloggers. And so it was really interesting. But then I realized probably about 3 or 4 weeks into starting my blog that there were people who were making money from this and like doing this for real, like serious. And I was like, man, that's really cool. I think I could do that too. Like I could make money with my blog. And so I remember I was like, kind of thinking it over, and I tend to be a person who like processes my thoughts out loud. And so my husband comes home from work and I'm like, honey, like this blogging thing is legit. Like there's some people doing this for real. And I think I could do that too. Like I think I could make enough money blogging that you could quit your job. And he looks at me at that point and he goes, honey, that is the stupidest thing that you have ever said. You cannot make money on a blog. And I feel like his eternal penance for not believing me right in that moment is that he has heard me tell that story so many times, and he hates that story so much. But it's true. Like he thought it was crazy. I kind of thought it was crazy too. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea how I was going to make money on my blog. I didn't really understand it. I just saw that other people were doing it, and I figured if other people could do it, then I could do it too. So so that's kind of how it started. And then I think my first like really big break with my blog was, because I was just learning stuff along the way, and I was reading everything I possibly could. Because at that point, this was 2010. There was information about blogging, but there was nothing cohesive. I think there was one book out there that was called Pro Blogger by Darren Rouse, and I read that book probably 50 times in the first 6 months that I was blogging, and just kept reading it over and over. Every time my husband would look at me, he's like, are you seriously reading that stupid book again? And just started, reading articles. I found a few articles online about how to make money blogging and kept trying to find more stuff, but there wasn't really that much information out there. Like people were kind of just doing it and trying to figure it out. And so that's what I started doing too. I started reading that, SEO is really important. You need to pay attention to your search engine results and get better search engine results. So I started reading all these books on search engine optimization and figuring out everything I possibly could about that. And that ended up being, just really helpful because about 6 months later, after I had started my blog and I had been writing about couponing, and I think I had started this series called The Beginner's Guide to Coupons, which I had written for a couple of my friends who wanted to understand couponing. And then the show, which you probably remember, Extreme Couponing came out. And all of a sudden, everybody in the planet was searching for how to use coupons. And I had put in a lot of work on SEO and my how to start extreme couponing. I was the top search on number 1 on Google for that.
So, Ruth, your story is very common. A lot of people that start out blogging, I even know for us, when we first started, I'm like, can we really make money? So when we did make money the first year, a profit, we were like, okay, this is a real thing. But how did you actually turn your blog from hobby to a full-time income business?
Well, that's a good question because, a lot of people assume when they hear about a blogger's success story that it just happens like boom, like, oh my gosh, one day you start this blog and the next day you're making all this money and it's really easy and you must, they must have just got lucky or they're an overnight success. I mean, we hear that term all the time. And I remember like when things started to really, really happen for me, it seemed like it happened quickly. And all of a sudden, especially like in 2014, I launched Elite Blog Academy, and my first book came out and hit the New York Times bestseller list. And so all of a sudden I had a lot of people thinking like, oh my gosh, suddenly this girl is everywhere. And she's, what did she do for all this like overnight success? I remember I had several people wanting to interview me and talk about my overnight success. And I thought, man, at that point, I'd been blogging for 4 years. I had been working my butt off trying to figure things out. I had been getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning every day for 3 years. And and not that I wasn't making money along the way. I was making some money, but most of what I was making, I was turning around and investing right back into my business, into either doing more training or going to conferences or hiring people to help me or just whatever I could do to learn. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen right away. But I think, like, I used to date a guy that would say it's better to be lucky than good. And I think that that can be true to some extent. Like, there's always going to be some luck that's involved, but I feel like you kind of make your own luck. So one of the things that was really important for me early on in building my blog was SEO and learning everything I could about SEO and search engine optimization. This was before social media was really big. I mean, Facebook existed, but it wasn't really super popular even yet then. And it was before Pinterest and before all of these other things. And so it was really, for blogs, traffic was all about getting good search engine results. And so I remember reading everything I possibly could about SEO. I remember reading 10 or 12 books in one weekend about just how to optimize your site. And so from the very beginning, every single post that I wrote was totally optimized for good search engine results. And then, 6 months later, I was writing all this stuff about how to use coupons. And 6 months later, the show Extreme Couponing came out. Now, I had nothing to do with that show. I had nothing to do with that show coming out. I had literally nothing to do with it. So that was the luck there, that this show came out and suddenly everybody was searching for how to use coupons. And it just so happened that I had put all the work 6 months previous into that, of how to optimize my site. And so that my site started showing up really, really high on search engine results for anything related to coupons. And I started just getting tons of traffic to my site for people who are searching on how to use coupons, which was amazing. So that was sort of really the first taste of what could happen. But that's where, it's life. Success is always going to be a combination of, doing the hard work up front and then seizing those opportunities when they come, because you never know what the opportunity is going to be. But if you've put the hard work going into it, then chances are those opportunities are going to come and they're going to present themselves. So Extreme Couponing was great. It was this huge wave, and I wrote it for a while. And then that kind of, as quickly as it rose, that whole trend fizzled out and people stopped being as interested in it anymore. And I had to figure out other things, and there's been a lot of different similar waves along the way that I've just learned, you kind of have to be able to ride things while they're hot, but also always knowing what might be coming next and never be too dependent on one thing that you would be devastated if it went away. And that was a hard lesson to learn at the first time that happened with Extreme Couponing. And it was another hard lesson I learned with Facebook. I was Facebook at one point for me was just going crazy, and I was getting so much traffic there. And then one day, boom, Facebook gods turned it off, and I went from all this traffic to zero traffic, and I had to figure out again. So now I really focus on my email list, which is something that I have more control over. But it's been a lot of learning along the way.
You teach a lot of us that have websites and blogs on how to maximize our platforms, and people that are considering creating, starting, or trying to get their platform to another level, they don't know the different types of ways that money can be made through blogs. What are some ways that are out there that people may want to consider if they're trying to do this for real?
That's a really good question. So yes, when you're thinking about making money from a website, the traditional way that most people kind of think about when they think that you're making money on a website is you must get paid from advertising. And that is definitely a way to make money. So in that, by advertising, I mean using ad networks. So essentially your website becomes then real estate, and that space gets leased out by a service such as Google AdSense, and they place ads on your site, and you get paid per 1,000 views or per click, depending on the advertising. And that's a pretty common way to make money from a website, and it's a pretty passive way to make money from a website. And by passive, I mean it's not that much work. You don't have to do anything. You just have to let people come to your site and hopefully click on your ads. And so in the beginning of blogging, that was really like the primary way that people made money. And especially when search engine was really big and there wasn't a lot of websites out there competing, or weren't as many websites out there competing, that was a really, people would set up these websites and then set up, optimize them for good search engine results and just hope that they would get this, continual flow of traffic from search engine results and people clicking on their ads. They were almost like spam sites. Well, Google figured that out and went away from encouraging that. They want real content. And also like that, it kind of went away really quickly as well. And so, yes, that is one of the ways that people make money. It's a pretty common way, but that's not the only way. And I would say that's probably not even the best way to make money off of a website, because dollar for dollar, you're going to make less money per visitor, per blog visitor, and per page view than you will on any of your other types. So the next thing that is out there is private advertising. And that would be something where you work more directly with a brand or a business to promote their product or service. So they pay, say a company pays you to write a sponsored post, or a company pays you to put an ad on your site, or a company pays you to do a video or to share something on social media. There's all different ways that you can work directly with brands for private advertising. So that's another way. That's a very common way for bloggers to make money. A third way is through affiliate marketing. So affiliate marketing is similar to private advertising in that you're getting paid to promote somebody else's product, but instead of being, just being paid a flat rate by a company, you're actually choosing what you get to promote or what you would like to be promote, and you're paid a commission. You're paid a commission based on how many you sell. So how much you make is based on how good you are at convincing other people to buy that. And so affiliate marketing can be a very, very lucrative way for bloggers to make money, especially when you start to get into products that have great affiliate commissions. And then the fourth way bloggers make money is by selling their own products. And those can be anything from physical products to that they manufacture and sell, to information and digital type products that are sold all online. It could be services. There could be membership sites. There's, an infinite number of products that bloggers can sell. And really, that is a way of figuring out. I personally am a big fan of selling your own products as the number one way to make money as a blogger, just because I feel like it's the best way to stay authentic to your brand, to your voice, and to your audience. And to create, once you've built a relationship with your audience, to create the products that your audience is already asking for, there's no better way to make money.
That's great insight. Great insight. And Ruth goes over this stuff in much greater detail inside of her course, Elite Blog Academy. You can go to hisandhermoney.com/EBA to find out more details about her awesome course. Now, I would love to know a little bit of transparency about, as you were building, as you were growing, I'm sure it was very tempting to look around the blogosphere and see this blog and that blog doing well, and you look at where you currently stand compared to them, and I'm sure it was easy to kind of get down on yourself like, man, I'm not there. I'm trying to get there. I wonder what they're doing. How did you kind of block some of that out in order to help you continue on your grind and on your journey to grow your platform?
You guys ask good questions, man. Yeah, so I really struggled with that at first, is not comparing myself. Maybe not. I think the hardest part was the middle part, because when you're a nobody, all you're doing is looking at all these people, and you find it super aspirational. Yes, aspirational. You are trying to become that, and so I would look at all these people who are doing amazing things and think, oh my gosh, I could do that too. I would like to do that too. And I was trying to figure out what they were doing. And then you get to you kind of see a little bit of success, and you get to a point where you start you see other people having some success and some people more than others. And then you start to rank yourself based on like how everybody else is doing. And you start comparing yourself to the people who were just starting out at the same time you were starting out and in the blogger circles. And, oh, am I doing better than them or doing worse than them or what are they doing? And I did really struggle with that at one point. And there was a point I think that I got where I just had to realize that I need to do my own thing. And for me, the catalyst for that was actually, it was like a little bit of a blogger trauma for me. But I was heavily involved in a Facebook group that was run by some just money saving, frugal type bloggers. And it was a pretty big Facebook group. And there was, it was a lot of drama in that Facebook group and people were talking all the time. And this was when there was all these deal blogs out there and everybody was talking about all the different deals and who credited who, and very dramatic every day. And this group, a particular group, was run by just a couple of bloggers. And it was, they kind of ruled the roost and were the big players in the frugal blogging world, I guess. And I had been invited by a company to be part of their like exclusive, and this was early on. I think I'd been blogging for about 6, maybe 8 months at this time. And so it was after the extreme couponing stuff had happened. So I started to see a little bit of success from the couponing stuff. And I got invited to join this group. It was a group of I think they had invited about 50 frugal bloggers. They called them their special people or whatever. They had a name for it, but I'm not going to say it here. And so we were part of this special group, and they invited us all to go on this trip together, and it was amazing, and it was all expenses paid. And I thought I had made it in the blogging world, right? Like I was like beside myself thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm in, like this is great. I'm with all these cool people. I don't know why they picked me, but this is so great. And I went, and there was a couple of those gals that were like the bigger, the big people, and they, for some reason, just did not like me at all. And I still don't know why. I'm very nice. I'm very tall, though. And I think that sometimes that intimidates people. And because I am super nice. Or maybe they just thought I had no right being there, because my blog really, truthfully, was very small. And I was nobody at that point. So maybe they thought I didn't blog. Anyways, this company set up, like soon after that, they were going to start this new promotion. So they were basically going to select like a small number of the people from this group that they had selected. They were going to select an inner group. So these were like the cool kids within the cool kids, right? And they were going to invite them to be part of this special thing that they were doing. And it was going to be great. They were going to start promoting our blogs everywhere. And it was going to be this big initiative. And we were going to make tons of money and blah, blah, blah. So I got invited to be part of this inner circle thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. Like I was so, so excited. And felt like I would like hit the jackpot. And then they, a couple weeks later, after they invited me and like called me personally to invite me, they invited these girls or gals to be in charge of the whole thing. Like they had hired them as consultants to run this whole program. And guess what the first thing they did was uninvite me. So I was in and then I was out. And I was so devastated, like so beside myself, devastated, cried and cried and cried. Like I felt like I was in junior high and I had just been attacked by the mean girls. It was awful. It was awful. And my husband, who is 20 years older than me and has like zero patience for this kind of thing, he was like, what the hell is wrong with you? Why do you even care what these stupid girls think? This is so dumb. You are not in high school. Put your big girl panties on and go and stop worrying about what everybody else is doing and just go do your own thing. And that's what he said. Like it was the like best tough love conversation that he's ever given me, and he's given me many, but that one was a good one. And he was so right. He was so right. But that was really for me the moment I dropped out of that group. And I completely started to do my own thing. I purposely stopped paying attention to what anyone else was doing and literally just decided to forge my own path. That I was, and I had been, being burned like that by being part of a group. I kind of just decided, nope, I'm going to do it on my own. But it was really the best thing that could have ever happened to me because it forced me to do things differently than everybody else was doing. And in the end, my blog grew exponentially as a result, and really I've never looked back. It's grown, far beyond the reach of most of the people in that group. And I will say that that initiative that I was so desperate to be a part of was an abject failure. And everyone I knew that was part of it was like regretted being a part of it. So that was also like dodged a bullet on that one. But yeah, it was, you just never know. And I think that sometimes you can look back at those moments because at the time it felt so devastating, but in hindsight, it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Wow. So talk about the dangers of perfection. Now, His and Her Money just went through an entire revamp, really pumped about it. New site, new logo. And 3 years ago when we started, you could not have told us that we were not doing it, right? We thought we were like, hey, this is nice. But looking back at it, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm a little embarrassed. I'm a little embarrassed by it. But if we would have waited for perfection, we would never have started. And I think a lot of bloggers, they're trying to wait to kind of get everything in order, and even your course, I can look at your course, Ruth, hands down. And this is not flattery. This is not because we're interviewing you. Your course is the best course. It really, really is. So thorough. I mean, and I've seen it evolve. You guys have like the transcripts. Oh, it's amazing. I mean, the how-to, the tutorials, transcripts, everything. But you started, even if you had to do it scared, you did it. And then you were starting to perfect, as you went on. So talk about that. Talk about the dangers of waiting to, for this ultimate best time to do something and just do it scared, even if you have to do it.
Oh, that's so true. That's, I see that all the time at Blog Academy. It's a question that I get probably more than any other question from new bloggers. They join Elite Blog Academy and they're all excited and they're like, okay, I've got all these blog posts that I've been writing and I've done all these things and I've been working on getting my design set up and I've hired a designer and I've done all these things. So when should I launch my blog? And I'm like, launch your blog? Like, why didn't you launch your blog 3 months ago when you were starting to write all these blog posts? Just publish and then figure it out as you go along. There's no right time. There's no right time to start. And I think people get so caught up on wanting to start at this perfect time or have everything set up perfectly or think that you're going to figure it all out and then go. And that's not really that's kind of the beauty of blogging, honestly, is that it doesn't have to work that way. It's the internet. You can change things. If you don't like a blog post, you can go back and edit it. If you don't like the way something looks, you can go add a graphic later. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's always changeable and always editable. And it's not like publishing a book where you have to spend a year making sure it's all perfect because once it's out, it's out. So there's really no perfection does not serve you in the blogging world. And I can honestly, you've been with Elite Blog Academy since 2014, so you saw what it was like in the beginning. Those awful videos that were like the first time I had ever tried using a teleprompter before were so awkward and bad lighting and everything. It was bad. It was not. And as soon as I launched it, I knew it was not what I wanted it to be and not the ultimate course that I wanted it to be. And honestly, it took 3 more years of having it be not to the standards that I wanted it to before we could completely redo all the videos and redo everything. And where I felt like, oh my gosh, this is what my original vision was. But those 3 years were the best. And I'm so glad we didn't do it right away from the beginning because we would have had to change it anyways. We learned so much that first year and that second year and that third year from running the course. We learned so much about what the students were going to ask and what we needed to add and what needed to make it better that by the time we did refilm it, it's a course that's totally comprehensive because we've had so much time to perfect it and hone it and change it and refine it. And that's really the beauty of blogging, is that no matter where you start, even if you start with what you think is perfection, you'll end up changing it, and it'll end up evolving, because the beauty of blogging is that it's completely interactive. And at least if you're doing it right, you're getting feedback from people, you're hearing back from your readers, they're asking you questions, or they're showing you that they're super interested in a topic that you might not have been interested in, or you might find 6 months into it that you're super passionate about one topic way more than others. Like, I've discovered that I'm not passionate about coupons, and now I'm stuck with a blog called Living Well, Spending Less, and that's okay. But that's okay. And and if you've read Living Well, Spending Less for a long time, which a lot of people have, that you've probably watched the progression of the different things that we talk about. So it's interesting, and it's always, we're, as humans, we're always evolving. And if our blogs and platforms are a reflection of that, then you should be open and excited about that. Just get it out there and see what happens. And the best thing that you can do is get it out there, because that's when you get the feedback. If you're not getting it out there, there's no point in writing 3 months of posts that nobody's reading. Get at least a couple people reading, and then before you write.
You've had goals of creating a full-time income. You did that. You had goals of bringing your husband away from his job, making enough money to cover everything. You've done that. 6 figures, you've done that. 7 figures, you've done that. How important is it to add the practice of goal setting in your journey to becoming an elite blogger like yourself?
Oh my gosh. I am the biggest goal setting fanatic that you will ever meet, I think. And not just like any goals. I am a huge, huge believer in setting big goals that scare you. Because I think that so often we try to like mitigate our success, or mitigate our losses, and mitigate our failures, that we don't dare like reach for those big things. We're like, well, I'll just like dabble in it, or I'll try a little bit and see how it goes. And we go about our day to day, and we do these small things, but it never really adds up, because we think that maybe a bunch of small things will add up to a big thing, but they really don't. They never do. It'll just be, because life is so full of little things already, that if you don't start setting big goals and start going after big things, it'll fill up with all the little stuff. And so yes, I am a huge believer that I feel like if your goal does not scare you at least a little bit, like if you don't get a knot in your stomach when you think about your goal, then it's not big enough, and you might need to start thinking bigger. That is my philosophy. And that's not always easy for people, especially, I talk to a lot of moms, especially through Living Well, Spending Less, that they've spent the last 10 or 15 years taking care of their families, and just being totally dedicated to being a mom, being a wife, maybe working part-time or doing something that they can do while their kids are in school, but not really like putting their own needs first. And all of a sudden their kids are a little bit older, and they feel like, oh my gosh, I want to do something with my life, and they have no idea what. Like, it's completely overwhelming to even think about what they might want to do. And to that, I feel like, well, there's your first big goal, is to figure out what the heck you want to do with your life. Like, take a class, go hire a life coach, do something different to start figuring out what your next step should be, because that's a big goal in and of itself.
Do you ever feel like you are spinning your wheels as a blogger or online business owner? It can be so frustrating to feel like you are working so hard and yet never really getting the results that you want. Or maybe you haven't even started your blog yet, but you feel totally intimidated by the thought of trying to figure it all out. Why does it have to be so hard? My name is Ruth Soukup, and I am the founder of Elite Blog Academy, as well as the New York Times bestselling author of Living Well, Spending Less, 12 Secrets of the Good Life. I am also a blogger at livingwellspendingless.com, one of the most popular personal finance blogs on the net. I started Elite Blog Academy because when I first started blogging, I felt that exact same way, overwhelmed by all that needed to be done and struggling to gain traction. I swore that if I could ever figure out the formula for success, I would share it with as many people as I could. These days, my blog earns a healthy full-time income and reaches more than 1 million readers each month. But I'm not working harder than I was before. I'm working a whole lot smarter, and you can too. I'd like to invite you to join me for my latest free training called Blogging Made Simple. In it, I'll share some easy to implement, super practical tips for creating content that gets noticed and shared, and for following a simple but comprehensive framework for success that gets real results. Whether you've been blogging for years or have an online business or are maybe just thinking about getting started, this free training will change the way you approach your blog and make things a whole lot easier. The training will be sent straight to your inbox, so to get started, simply sign up today. I promise you won't regret it.
Again, we're talking to Ruth Soukup. She is the owner, the creator of Elite Blog Academy. If you guys want more information, just head to hisandhermoney.com/EBA. The links will be in the description box below. And if you listen to this on our podcast, just go to the show notes over at hisandhermoney.com. Now, Ruth, let's talk about your course one more time and tell our audience, who is this course for? I know the title says Elite Blog Academy. So is it just for bloggers? Talk about who this course was designed for.
We tend to find that we have sort of 3 different categories of people that really succeed with the course. The first is sort of motivated beginners, people who maybe don't yet have a blog or a platform, or they've just started their blog, but they're really interested in doing this seriously, doing this full time. Maybe they want to start a ministry, maybe they want to start a business. And it doesn't just have to be a blog. I know it says Elite Blog Academy in the name, but the same techniques, I mean, you guys are podcasters. You can probably vouch for the fact that the same concepts apply no matter what your platform is. Even if it's e-commerce, we have different people that are just entrepreneurs that have different businesses that don't necessarily have a blog. And there's a lot that fits in just with business, especially online businesses, that don't necessarily have to be related to blogging. But blogging is kind of the universal way that we refer to it. So there's beginners. Then we also get, people who are maybe have been blogging for a little while and they're starting to feel stuck, like they're spinning their wheels, feeling like they're doing all the things and nothing is actually coming together or gelling, and they're not getting the momentum that they want. And that's a really, really common thing too. You feel like you start off and you start figuring out all these things and you start reading all these things, and there's so many articles and so much stuff out there, and you start doing all the things, but you're not quite doing the things in the right order because they're not adding up to where you need to go. And then we have people who are already like well advanced and have been blogging full time or almost full time for a while, and they find that they get so much out of EBA. It's almost like peeling an onion, and we have a lot of, as you probably know, we have so many of our students go through EBA multiple times. They go through, like some people go through it every single year, and they find that they get different stuff out of it every single time, because when you're just starting out, you're gonna kind of see things on the surfacey level, and you're gonna do the basics. And then once you've mastered those basics, you're gonna go and do those same lessons over again and be like, oh my gosh, there's so much depth here that I never even realized the first time because I was just trying to figure it out. So it's really incredible to see how many 6-figure bloggers have taken the course and just had their businesses explode as a result.
And just for clarity on that point, if you invest in it one time, you're in the course for good.
For life, yeah.
So that's why we keep taking it over and over and over again.
Exactly.
Which my marketing team tells me is completely crazy. Yes, they are. They're not so happy with that thing. But I love it. Like, for me, there's nothing better than being able to make a living helping people transform their lives. Like I say this to them all the time, which drives them crazy too, is that I don't do it for the money. Yes, I am so blessed to have experienced amazing success in my business. And that's, I'm not going to lie, that's good too, because I still like Target. But, but at the same time, to be able to look back at the last 5 years of EBA and see the number of lives that have been transformed and the number of families' lives that have been transformed because of the number of success stories that we've had and the number of bloggers that I've helped coach to create these full-time businesses and amazing businesses where they're hiring people. I mean, the impact of that is just like, there's nothing like that. I mean, the fact that this is my life, this is what I get to do, is to watch people create amazing lives for themselves. I mean, there's nothing better than that. So I am so glad to have lifetime membership. But you know what? Like, I believe in paying it forward so much too. And I have found that the people who are in Elite Blog Academy who have seen that kind of success, I believe in that mentality too. I mean, you guys can vouch for this. You've been in that community for so long. I mean, our biggest success stories are like the leaders in the community. They're the ones helping the newbie bloggers and answering questions in the Facebook group, not because they're getting paid to do that, which they're not. I mean, they come in and do Facebook Lives. They volunteer their time. They do all of this stuff without even being asked, just because they feel such a sense of gratitude to what Elite Blog Academy has taught them and given them and how much it's transformed their lives. And that's pretty incredible. You're not going to find that from really, I don't think, in any other blogging community where there's just such a sense of we're all in this together. We all rise together, and we've been given so much. So let's give it back and let's pay it forward to the next generation of bloggers. It's really, really cool.
And you have transformed a lot of people's lives, ours included. I want to talk a little bit on that point as well, because in the beginning you said that, you know, when you first had this idea and you brought it to your husband, he told you that was a crazy idea. How did you fight through that, still do it? You know, and then all the work that you put in over the years, all the trainings that you've been through over the years, all the adjustments that you've made over the years, how has your life been improved as a result of all these things that you've done?
Wow. Well, my husband and I do not fight about money anymore. I will say that. So that has been good. We have found other things to fight about. Don't worry. But mostly they involve how much I work. But no, seriously, it's been completely transformative. The fact that my husband gets to be a stay-at-home dad, and he is the best dad. Like, he is a way better stay-at-home parent than I could ever hope to be. He's got so much patience. He takes my girls to dance and learns their dance routines and practices with them, and just is like the best dad. And the fact that he gets to do that too is incredible. We have been able to travel the world together as a family, which is incredible. We were in Australia. We just were in Bolivia. We've been able to do, amazing charity work around the world too. That we were in Bolivia to open up a compassion center that we built with proceeds from our company, and that was pretty cool. It was really cool for my kids to see too. Just like, this is what happens when you work hard, that you can do things like this and you can make an impact in the world. Because it's not just that we're making an impact with Elite Blog Academy students or with our planner users at Living Well Spending Less, but that we get to make an impact on the lives of kids who are living in poverty too, which was pretty cool. I mean, it's changed everything. I've had opportunities I would have never even dreamed of 8 years ago, and I just wake up grateful every day that this is my life.
Speaking of new opportunities, you have a new podcast that's about to launch in April. Tell us about that.
Oh, I'm so excited about this podcast. I am launching a podcast called Do It Scared. And if you have followed me for any amount of time, you know that Do It Scared is actually, that phrase it's one of our core values for our company. And it's just something like that I have personally tried to live out in my life. I feel like everything I do, I'm doing it scared. Every day as an entrepreneur, I'm doing it scared. I have no idea what I'm doing most of the time. I'm just making it up as I go along. And so that is something that we actively live as a team. We talk about it all the time. And it's something that, as I started to incorporate it, I would write about it at Living Well Spending Less every once in a while in my newsletters or something. And I would write about it at Elite Blog Academy. And both of those communities really started to kind of lock onto that phrase too. And I started seeing a lot of our students using it. Hey, Ruth says to do it scared. I'm just going to do it scared. And I realized like, man, we're really onto something here. Like this is something that like people connect with and get excited about. And it's something that I connect with and get excited about. And so I just realized as I was doing some soul searching that my biggest passion in life is just helping people to do the things that they didn't know they were capable of. And if I look at how I run my team likes to joke that I hire for potential, not for actual skills, because I constantly am hiring people that I'm like, I feel like they could be amazing with just the right training. And so it's kind of like a running joke. And I just feel like with Elite Blog Academy and with Living Well, Spending Less, when I'm teaching people to think bigger than themselves and to do things that they never thought they would be capable of, that's when I'm at my best, and that's when I'm at my most passionate, and that's when I get most excited. And so that's really what Do It Scared is all about. It's just encouraging people to face their fears and to overcome obstacles and to create a life that they love. And I'm also writing a book by the same title that will be coming out in 2019, which I am so excited about. We're doing this amazing research study on fear and the different types of fear, and which is going to be really, really cool too. So there's a lot that's happening on the Do It Scared front, and I can't wait.
Now, I love that concept, Do It Scared. I think it's such a powerful statement. And I was just talking to someone today, a friend, and he has this idea. He's big into fashion and designing suits and things like that. And I was like, hey, you should just create a blog and start creating content. You got all this stuff in you. And he was like, yeah, but it's such a saturated market. I don't think anybody will listen to me. And I think that a lot of people have a lot of different reasons why they won't start. Talk to that person that's in that position. They have this great idea. They have this great passion. They have the thought to start the blog, but something is holding them back. How would you encourage them to put all that stuff to the side and just go for it?
Oh, that's such a great question. Well, in terms of specifically with a blog, and what I like to tell people is that it doesn't actually matter what's out there already, because there's only one you. And the world doesn't need more of somebody else. The world needs more of you. And there's never going to be a time that's perfect. There's never going to be a time that's not scary. And so the best thing that you can do is just get it out there and do it scared and see what happens. I mean, what I'm finding with this research study that we're doing, we surveyed over 4,000 people. So it's just a massive amount of data that we're going through. But what's so interesting is just the level of, because one of the questions that we asked about is when people wanted to do something, but they let fear hold them back. And the regret for people is so intense that they will talk about regret from like 20 or 30, from something they didn't do 20 or 30 years ago. And I just think as you're thinking about like, what is the worst thing that could possibly happen if you start and you fail? I mean, that is because it's the fear of failure that holds most people back. But what I've discovered about failure is that failures are like the best, because that's what teaches you. That's where you learn the most. I mean, when I look back at my business and the things that have gone wrong, those are always the catalyst for when things go right. Every time I have a mistake, it's not a mistake, it's a lesson, because that's where I'm learning. When things go right, what do you learn from that? Nothing. And so really, truly, the regret that you will feel from not doing something is so much stronger and so much more powerful than the small amount of pain you would experience if you failed, that it's totally worth it.
Ruth, this has been amazing. Your journey to becoming an elite blogger.
I just have to ask one question though, Ruth, and I'm sure that it's on people's minds. Those mean girls, are they now a part of Elite Blog Academy?
No, they are not. They are not.
Maybe they are.
They sent their administrative assistant through the course.
They might. We have over 6,000 students, so it is possible that they have not been active members of the community.
Okay.
Oh man. It's just been awesome to watch. You know, before we even became students of Elite Blog Academy, we were fans of Living Well, Spending Less, and so to watch your journey, you know, we've read your books, we've taken your course, and it's just been amazing to learn from you, and we've applied so much of your wisdom into our company, and so from us to you, thank you first and foremost for that. And thank you so much for coming back on our show to share your journey of entrepreneurial success with our audience today.
Thank you, Ruth.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me, guys.